So we did question 1, remember? So let's go to question 2. And I'm going to do this one for practice. So let's review how to solve this first. And then in your book or your tablet, you solve your question here, and then you'll write your answer in the item pool. So I'm really just checking your participation, that's all. So let's solve this one as we did the last lesson. So with the -4 here, remember, we can add 4 to both sides. So that 4 is basically being moved and becoming 4. So x squared minus 6x equals 4 on this side. That's the first thing you do. Now our middle number is -6. This is the important number here. So remember, this is the number that we halve it, divide by 2, and then we square that, we'll get 9. So 2 into -6 is -3. -3 squared is 9. Okay, so this is the number you need to add back to your equation here and here. So we put it in there. So x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 4 plus 9. Okay, we did that now because this is a perfect square. So we can write that in the form x. You have a minus, so minus, and square root 9 is 3 all squared. So these are equal. Okay, they're the same. And then we have 9 plus 4, that's 13. So at this point, we took the square root of both sides. So you can copy this down now if you want as just a bit of practice, because I'm going to close this page in a minute. So then we have plus or minus. So remember your plus or minus, root 13. That root will cancel the square. So then you've got x minus 3 equals plus or minus root 13. And then the -3 will come over to become 3 plus or minus root 13. Now in the item pool, you will need to write this as a decimal. So you got 3 plus root 13, which is 6.60555. So like that, and then 3 minus root 13, which is minus 6.0555. Sorry, minus 0.60555. So this in question, I'll go through it fairly quickly because most of you seem to understand anyway. If you can't understand, then you probably should copy down. So the first thing to do, you would have brought your 12 over, didn't you? So x squared minus 5x equals 12. Our middle number is -5. So we halve that number and square it. You'll get 25 on 4. Okay, just square top and bottom. So then we put that number back in to our equation here and here, both sides, to keep the equation balanced. So then you've got x squared minus 5x plus 25 on 4 equals 12 plus 25 on 4, like that. So then this here would be a complete square. So you'll get x minus the square root of this number, 5 on 2, all squared, equals 12 plus 25 on 4 is 73 on 4. Here, I'm just shorthanding that. You can put that in your calculator and get the answer. So at this point, we square root. So some of you maybe are still missing this here. So make sure it's plus or minus to give you 2 answers. Cancel your square. Then you'll get x minus 5 on 2 equals plus or minus. Now what I'll do here, I'll split this to be root 73 on root 4. So this is valid, you're allowed to do this, which is root 73 on 2. So I'll write that in here, plus or minus root 73 on 2. Again, your calculator can do all this. So then x is 5 on 2 plus or minus root 73 on 2. And now you have a common denominator, don't you? And then you can combine that. So 5 plus root 73 all on 2. And when you make your decimal, yeah, minus 1.77, comma, 6.77. So that's how you got your answer, right? I think that's hopefully how you did it. Don't just use photo math, all right? Because I need to see you're working. Okay, so that's how you would get the answer for that. Most of you did that okay. So in this one, now I recommend, well, the first thing you need to do, let's start you off. You can do this in a minute. Divide everything by 8. I might not tell you how you should do this one, but divide everything by 8 first. X squared minus 2 root 7 x plus 7 equals 0. So I'll leave it there. And then I would do that first. So do that one here, and then put your answer into the item pool. I recognize, when I looked at this, I thought it looks a bit familiar. This is actually your perfect square already. So this is actually a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, which is a minus b all squared. So if you look at this here, you've got an a, which is x. Then you got the a, which is x here. B is root 7. The 2 is here. So b is root 7. And this is b squared, which is 7. So this is actually already a perfect square. So you can complete the square, but you'll still get the same answer. So you can actually write that as x minus root 7 squared equals 0. So x must be root 7 to get 0 here. So x equals root 7. That would be the quickest way to do it, which is your 2.65. But if you're completing square, you would have had x squared minus 2 root 7x equals minus 7. Okay, you would have done that. And this is probably what some of you did, most of you. So we take the middle number and square it. This will cancel, minus 1, and root 7 squared would become 7. So this is the number we add to both sides. So x squared minus 2 root 7x plus 7 equals minus 7 plus 7. So you get 0 on this side. You see what happened? You get back to the question, don't you, if you do it that way? Maybe it's a bit confusing. So this is already a perfect square. So even when I do this method, I still end up back to the question here, which means it's a perfect square already. So it would have been x minus root 7 squared. So x is root 7. Okay, but anyway, so let's move on to the next one, which will be the last question. We have 8 minutes. So only about 5 minutes to do this one. So in this question, remember to divide everything by 2 first. So I'll start you off. You'll have x squared minus 3 on 2x equals minus a half. So that would be my first step. So step 1. So start there. Okay, so work on your book or your tablet, and I'll share the question on the item pool. So your middle number is minus 3 on 2. We halve that and we square it. We'll get minus 3 on 4. We square that, we'll get 9 on 16. Okay, so this is the number that you add here and here. So we put them in. X squared minus 3 on 2x plus 9 on 16 equals minus a half plus 9 on 16. So if you didn't get it correct, it's worthwhile to copy down here. So now this would be a complete square. So we have x as the variable, x, the sign here is minus. So minus here, and square root of 9 on 16 will be 3 on 4. So just square root top and bottom. And that would be all squared. So these are equal. So then you're going to get, this number is going to be 1 on 16. So when you add those two numbers, you get 1 on 16 here. Then we square root both sides like normal. We cancel the square. We end up with x minus 3 on 4 equals, now this will be plus or minus 1/4. So you got root 1 on root 16, which is 1 on 4 there, okay? And just don't forget your plus minus. So x would equal 3 on 4. So bring the 3 on 4 over and change the sign, plus or minus 1/4. So now add these two numbers. So you get 3 plus 1, 4 on 4, which is 1, and 3 minus 1, which is 2 on 4, which is 1/2. So you get 1/2 and 1 for that one. Now you could have factorized that question actually. And if I was giving you this in a test and I ask you just to solve it, you wouldn't do it this way, it's too long. So you got 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 equals 0. It's much easier to factorize this particular problem, unless I ask you to complete square. So you'd have 2x, x, and this must be negative, and this is positive, so these have to both be minus 1. So x equals 1/2 and 1. Just done, that's it, finished. Okay, so this would be the AC method from the last section.